Now, I know that I'm about a week late to this one, but I do feel as if it's one of those things that just needs to be spoken about, no matter how late you're talking about it, because otherwise it's just gonna fly. And it's about loot boxes, specifically EA's involvement in why loot boxes are a bad thing for gaming. A bit of background: nobody likes them, they're scummy, and they blatantly exploit the fans who play their games. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the balls of EA. Jesus Christ. EA are essentially a company that embodies the loot boxes. They're scummy, and they blatantly exploit the fans who've already paid money for their games. So no difference between them and loot boxes. And with the loot box controversy in Battlefront 2, you'd expect them to be well aware of where they went wrong, and you'd expect them to not make the same mistake again. However, oh god, we're talking about EA here. So about a week ago, during a hearing with the UK Parliament's Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee, EA's Vice President of Legal and Government Affairs, Kerry Hopkins, said something really fucking stupid. Now, in order to show you just how absurd this is, I don't even need to highlight it, I'm just going to show you the clip.
I think that was
whatever term you wish to apply to them, do you consider them ethical?
So what we look at as surprise mechanics, but I think it's important to look at this. So if you go to a I don't know what your version of Target is, but a store that sells a lot of toys, and you do a search for surprise toys, what you'll find is that this is something people enjoy. They enjoy surprises, and so it's something that's been part of toys for years, whether it's Kinder Eggs or Hatchimals or LOL Surprise. We do think the way that we have implemented these kind of mechanics, and FIFA, of course, is our big one, our FIFA Ultimate Team and our packs, is actually quite ethical and quite fun, enjoyable to people. We agree with the UK Gambling Commission, the Australian Gambling Commission, and many other gambling commissions that they aren't gambling, and we also disagree that there's evidence that shows it leads to gambling.
Okay, she goes on to ramble about gambling there, but that's not the point. I don't really want to talk about whether or not loot boxes are gambling. In my opinion, to a degree, yes they are, because you're paying with real money for the chance of getting something good or something really shit. But because legally it's not recognised as gambling, you can legally promote it to kids. That's the only difference. But what really got me is referring to these things as surprise mechanics, like you would see in surprise toys. The difference there being that you don't have to pay $60-some just to get something, so that you can then go ahead and buy the surprise stuff on top when it comes to surprise toys, like you do with loot boxes or FIFA packs.
Instead, we think it's like many other products that people enjoy in a very healthy way, and like the element of surprise.
Another thing that really annoyed me was the implication that people enjoy being exploited. I don't think anybody with a brain cell has ever expressed enjoyment at the presence of loot boxes. Nobody's gone, fuck yeah, I got 15 quid, let's go blow it on another loot box that's going to give me absolutely nothing worthwhile. In fact, it's one of the most looked down upon practices in the gaming industry, especially from the consumer's perspective, which you're arguing is the very angle that people are enjoying this from. I guarantee you, it's not. In fact, at E3 2019, I can't tell you the amount of times people have said that their games won't include loot boxes and microtransactions, and people have applauded that. People confirming that they won't be carrying out scummy practices should not be applauded. But in this day and age, people feel the need to do that. And I think that says a lot about the industry and completely contradicts the shit that Kerry Hopkins is chatting in this video. The nerve it must take to compare something as blood-sucking as loot boxes, something that exploits gamers who've paid $60 for the game already, and now they're being asked to pay more for specific things and pay-to-win features, to Kinder Eggs of all things, which is essentially a chocolate egg with a smaller egg inside. The smaller egg is a capsule in which you can find a surprise toy. Obviously they're dirt cheap, and I think they're actually illegal in America because they're a choking hazard, which they are. I don't know if they're still illegal in America, but they were at one point. I don't pay attention to the politics of Kinder Eggs, I'm sorry. But that comparison, loot boxes, Kinder Eggs, surprise toys, games that you've already paid for coming with features that you need to pay more for. It just doesn't work. Especially when you have no idea what exactly you're paying for in loot boxes. That makes it gambling. The gamble is it going to be worth it in the end? Is it not? Who knows? We'll have to find out by paying for it. Something that anyone can access, not just adult players, but kids too. And you never hear any good stories come from this. You always hear the horror stories, like a kid's gotten a hold of their mother's credit card and wasted $1,000 trying to get a specific gun or a Fortnite skin or whatever. So even having an in-game store where you can buy extra stuff for real money is kind of dangerous when you think about it. So you can't tell me that loot boxes and things are an ethical practice. It's exploiting your players and even children. And of course, you can't really control who plays your game when they're playing it in private, unfortunately. However, there should at least be some safeguard in place when there are loot box features in a game, such as an adult age rating, which is just to be expected because it is gambling, and gambling requires you to be legally an adult. So let's take an example. FIFA. What's the age rating on that? 3. Ethical my arse. To say that loot box systems aren't flawed is a pure fallacy. Now, I'm not expecting them to go anywhere, though in my ideal world they wouldn't exist. To go into UK Parliament and argue that loot boxes are ethical is just outrageous nonsense. When you buy a game for $60, you expect that to be complete with everything. You don't want it to have pay-to-win features. You don't want to have to pay to get extra stuff. You do not want to gamble your money to risk getting bad stuff for the slight chance that you'll get good stuff. You want that $60 asking price to go as far as possible. Story DLC you can understand. Extra content that you can justify paying for is ethical, arguably. But the game shouldn't really be shoving microtransactions, loot boxes and all of that in your face, asking you to pay more for a game that you've already purchased. The fact that games do these days is tolerable, however, do not stand up and tell us that these are surprise mechanics, not exploitation. They're definitely not loot boxes. It's not rape, it's surprise sex. It's not murder, it's euthanasia. It's not theft, it's borrowing forever. It's not genocide, you get the point. You can find a more innocent way to word just about anything. But funnily enough, that doesn't make it automatically actually innocent.
Your loot boxes or surprise mechanics, you have no ethical qualms whatsoever with.
So I think you're recharacterizing my language. What I said is I think the way we've implemented our FIFA Ultimate Team packs is ethical.
Okay, other than FIFA and other games that you provide, are you equally comfortable and relaxed about
For
it?
all of the games we have on the market that have a randomized content mechanic, a surprise mechanic, a loot box, I have no qualms that they are implemented in an unethical way.
You know, I'd say the exact same thing if I was paid to say it. Like I said, I don't take issue with the ethics argument that's being placed here. My issue mostly falls down to this is misrepresenting what loot boxes are, as they're definitely not as innocent as a Kinder Egg or a surprise toy. You see, with a surprise toy, you know that what you're gonna get is gonna be worth the exact same amount of money each time. Now, though you might be paying the same amount of money for each loot pack or whatever, you might not get your money's worth in gear out of that loot pack. Less so with FIFA packs, they enter a grey area where I probably put Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Now, if you still buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you probably finger your bumhole. I'm just kidding, rock on. But in the end, it still stands that some packs will be worth more than others, and sometimes, most of the time actually, you won't get your money's worth in a pack, and you're playing for the chance that you will. If you can't see the big red sign that says gambling there, then I can't help you. Another absurd thing that's mentioned is that these loot packs and things are used in a healthy way. Now, there's nothing healthy about gambling. That is a dirty habit, just like drinking alcohol, smoking or whatever. You shouldn't be promoting that. At least not with a disclaimer telling you exactly what it is. Now, to be fair, EA aren't the only culprits when it comes to putting loot boxes and things in their games. Obviously, companies like Ubisoft have done it, and they're all just as bad as each other. But it really takes some EA magic to come out with shit like this. Now, I don't care if loot boxes or whatever are in the game. You can ignore them, that's fine. Just don't pretend it's anything other than it is, to the full extent. Pulling the wool over our eyes doesn't work anymore. The consumers have seen through it at this point. So all chatting bollocks to get a political body to swing in your favour is going to do is inspire a lack of confidence from your consumers. And though we know that EA have actively decided to not put loot box system in Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order that we know of, I have absolutely no doubt at this point that they will do it in the future. And to be fair, they're no less untrustworthy than they were when Battlefront 2 launched. Really, surprise mechanics. Of all the dumb shit you could come up with, that's gotta be one of the dumbest things that I've ever heard be officially spoken by a game publisher. So that's what I think about all of this nonsense. It's just nonsense. To hear EA stand on a platform and defend the very practice that alienated a ton of their consumers and caused a massive controversy that became a political debate, you just can't make this stuff up, can you? It's just plain ridiculous, there's no other way to describe it. But unfortunately, that's just how the gaming industry is these days. So those are my thoughts on all of this nonsense. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments section. Thank you all for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff, and I'll see you all very soon with another video at some point.